Netflix's Daredevil is the best superhero television show to date. A faithful, realistic, and stylized take on an iconic hero. I recently rewatched it and it still holds up 10 years later. The writing, the allegories, the characters, the acting, the lighting, everything about it just worked. And Disney's Daredevil Born Again aimed to be a continuation of that series. Well, kinda. I mean, the original plan was to do something completely new, but then that sucked balls because how do you write a new story involving these characters without their past? Oh wait. So of course, they scrapped that whole idea and hired Loki's showrunners, which everyone else thought was pretty good. I might be the black sheep, but you know, I took the good with the bad, okay, whatever. Things were looking up. The trailer released and I was optimistic. Cautiously, of course, given Marvel's new track record.
This sucks more than anything that has ever sucked before.
And then the show was released. The finale has dropped and I have a lot of thoughts, but I'm a little late to making this video. And truth be told, it's because I just didn't feel it. Halfway through the season's run, I did not care enough to make time to watch the episodes upon release. It just felt like a chore. And that's insane coming from me. I love Daredevil. I love the character. I'm a huge fan, and he's what got me into reading comics. But this new show, it's off. The first episode starts with a bold bang. We get the old characters together, laughing with one another. We get an intense long fight sequence. Fisk is back, better than before, and it was a decent start. But as the story progressed, it just, what's the word?
This all feels, to me, feels like fake.
Thanks, Matt. Daredevil Born Again is just a soulless, hollow rebirth imitating someone else's former glory. This is not a Daredevil show, and I get it. It's not entirely fair to compare the older one to this newer one. But the show opens the door to that argument the moment they decide to continue where the previous show left off. This show then piggybacks off of all the hard work the old creative team did, the attachment the fans have, and the foundation that's been laid by the old writers to hastily put something new together. It alienates its fan base by abandoning the iconic side characters within the first 10 minutes and replacing them with boring, annoying, shoehorned, cringy, and lame newer ones.
I love you, Matt.
I love you too.
Stop the cap.
Characters that were given no reason to care about and just bitch at Matt the entire time.
Then go out there and do your job and get me some probation.
That's cool. My bad for thinking you cared.
Daredevil saved you.
I saved me.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Killing Foggy was a bold decision. One I wasn't entirely against at first, as it offered an interesting story direction for the characters, but only under the right writers.
It's brutal. I'm still not convinced it's the right thing to do, but we have to come back big and bold. You know, we got to make a statement after all these years away.
Instead, for whatever reason, we cut 1 year into the future, skipping past all the potential valuable character moments and vulnerability. It skipped past developing Matt's relationship with these newer characters, grounded in his mourning of his best friend. So instead, killing Foggy and removing Karen from the show until the very end did nothing but piss off fans.
Without going into spoiler territory, both Deborah and Eldon are coming back for season 2.
Much to their credit though, that moment did provide probably the best scene, perhaps the only good scene, in the entire show with Matt and Frank.
Ah, for Christ's sake, say his name! Say his name, you coward! Say his name!
Heisenberg, you're goddamn right.
Charlie Cox and John Bernthal are great actors. I will say all of the actors in the show are great and do their best with what they're given. No complaints there. Fisk is also back, but not entirely like before. The cuckolding he goes through with Vanessa this season is just horrendous and continues to humiliate this once intimidating character. It is just insanely unbelievable that this extremely loyal, ride or die, infatuated wife would cheat on her husband because he's away for some time. A time period where his absence is never fully explained either, especially since she's the same person who stayed loyal to Fisk during his incarceration and her time outside the country. I guess killing the commissioner was cool, but it just felt like an edgy, childish gore moment. I thought so too for most of the action sequences, where we only got one kinda good fight sequence within the first 5 minutes, which is not as clean as before and riddled with ugly looking CGI. The visuals too. Yeah, the color grading is extremely washed and dull, and the lighting is not spectacular, with episode 8's ballroom scene being the exception. I can also appreciate the BB Report's transitions for being an attempt at a stylistic identity, but it feels completely out of place in a Daredevil show. And probably my biggest stylistic complaints are the music choices. This show uses the Daredevil theme at the most random points and chooses the weirdest songs to underscore scenes that again feels out of place for a Daredevil show. I always thought that Daredevil's musical charm came from the lack of lyrics, lack of the over-the-top extravagant songs, but instead the unique traditional piano or organ or instrumentals that gave it a fresh identity. But here, the music makes it feel like every other show instead of a stylized one.
I don't believe in an interventionist God.
Most of the season goes nowhere. You have no idea what direction they're going in or what the season's overarching goal is. The structure is that of an episodic one, where in one episode, Matt goes on an adventure with Ms. Marvel's dad, which by the way, did you know he has a daughter named Kamala? Because he seemed to forgot to mention it.
My daughter, Kamala. Miss Marvel. This is her. Like it's a piggy bank I gave Kamala and my daughter.
Ah, the famous Kamala.
At one point, Muse was the main villain, but the show didn't commit to that, nor did they cast an interesting guy to play him. A real waste, given the interesting potential there. Oh, and then White Tiger was a plot thread, but the show didn't commit to that either. And honestly, who cares? Because the show didn't build him up enough to give you a reason to care about his death. And then Bullseye was the main antagonist or something. And then there was a Vanessa plot twist that just didn't have an impact. Also hard to believe that Matt would have never dug deeper into Foggy's death, but whatever. In reality, the show was supposed to be building towards Matt and Fisk caving into their true selves, mirroring each other, showcasing that they're two sides of the same coin, going back to their old ways. But the payoff isn't satisfying, and Matt's breaking point is him quite literally just saying,
Fuck it.
I feel like what's missing here is Matt's relationship with God. Him grappling with his Catholic faith is what carried the old show, especially season 3. Those moments offered crucial, vulnerable scenes that allowed us to empathize and understand Matt. That's, in my opinion, what made the older show so special. But in this newer one, there's a significant lack of God. Ironic, given that the show is literally called Born Again. It's also called Daredevil, but there's a significant lack of that too, but whatever. I imagine Matt's breaking point could have been a super relatable one, underscored by his temptation to fall back into his old ways, not wanting to disrupt his faith with God. But of course, we're human, and so he goes back to Daredevil and is quote unquote born again, instead of a simple
Fuck it.
The showrunner for Born Again stated that the worst part about the original show was that at times it would just be two characters in a room talking about what it means to be a hero. But that was the best part about the old show. Those were the most memorable moments, when Matt and his mom would talk about how he can't be a hero anymore. When he and his priest would talk about how Matt's double life is doing more harm than good to him. And I mean, in this show, the best part about it is when two characters are talking about what it means to be a hero.
He got life! How about old Foggy? He got life.
Daredevil Born Again just missed the point entirely. I can see it already. If you like the old show so much, go back and watch it. But that's not my point. My point is that Born Again is a disgrace to the hard work and effort that was put into the previous series. It's a slap to the face, and in fact, it kind of ruins it.
It's not entirely unpleasant seeing you again.
The epic, climactic, cathartic finale of season 3 is just undone in a matter of episodes.
You will go back to prison, and you will live the rest of your miserable life in a cage.
No, he doesn't.
You'll never have Vanessa.
Yes, he does.
This city rejected you.
Actually, elected New York's mayor.
I beat you.
You actually take a bullet for him, Matt. Which also the writers don't even care to explain why he did that super big character moment anyway.
Why would you take a bullet for that, asshole? That is a good question.
I think what's most criminal is that it doesn't even have a proper climax. Remember how I said this show just doesn't go anywhere? Well, it turns out that I was actually building towards a possible second season, which is one, always indicative of lousy writing to not properly finish what you started. Yeah, you can build towards a second season, but also provide a satisfying climax at least. And two, I said possible second season because this show so far has been watched by fewer people than the Agatha All Along show and the canceled Star Wars Acolyte show. Not good signs for season 2. And Daredevil in the end decides to build an army to stop Fisk. But it's just 3 random cops and a bartender. He's cooked! And of course there's a post-credit scene that's just completely goofy. Like, come on, obviously you knew Punisher would break your arm. That's the oldest trick in the book. I'm just disappointed in every way. Possibly the best superhero television series ever, and this was the result. I know there were some complications behind the scenes with the show, and I'll give some leeway, but I don't think that should be an excuse. With Disney's budget, that should have never been an issue. To me, Daredevil Born Again was a last chance for Marvel to prove that they still have that storytelling magic. But after watching another disappointing Marvel product, they have failed yet again.